I hope I'm ready.
Hello, today my name is Haley Wilson and I'm here doing an oral interview with Mr. Hoyt Harbin of Harbin Automotive here in Scottsboro, Alabama. We came together today to talk a little bit about the history of the dealership and kind of how it started and the family connection. Hoyt, it's very good to have you with me today and I appreciate you taking the time for my interview. Okay, tell me a little bit about the dealership, your grandfather.
So Granddaddy started it in 1939. He was a banker in Gurley and decided that he had some friends that were owners of dealerships and he decided he wanted to get some of that himself. So he ended up at first trying to buy a Chrysler store in Sheffield, Alabama. That fell through, and months later he ended up getting the dealership in Scottsboro, and then Daddy followed him when he got out of college in 1950. Then I followed my daddy when I got out of college in 1980, and then my sons followed me when they got out of school early 2000s.
Okay, great. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. I wonder how your grandfather actually got here to Scottsboro. So was this a dealership, the actual Ford dealership he took over, he bought from someone?
It is, and again, I should have looked up the history better, but two original owners prior to that, Paget and Benson.
Okay.
And obviously I did know the relatives of the Bensons. In fact, David, we were talking David Bradford.
Yes.
He's kin to that family.
Okay.
So they were two previous owners of the dealership before Granddaddy got it in the late 30s.
So basically there's been a family connection from day one. So
Sure.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's very interesting because that's a large part of this community, obviously.
Sure.
So I know that you said your granddad was from the Gurley area, which is somewhere around 30 minutes from here. So the dealership was on the town square.
Right.
Okay, so when he took it over, or bought it actually, the cars had changed some. He was more into like a coupe when the dealership.
You know, the picture right there is one of the is where it was located. Of course, they didn't have a lot of inventory. You could get any color you wanted, but as long as you wanted black.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I can still remember them taking the cars to my granddaddy's pasture, which is just right over here.
Oh,
and,
so this property right next to the dealership's
right over here is where they kept them overnight, and the next day people drove them into the dealership where all the windows were covered, and that was each year they showed the new cars. Of course, now not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Yes, and I understand that they were about the same time, July and August.
Sure.
When the new cars came out at that point in time. Okay. So basically, your granddad chose Scottsboro because it's where the dealership was, and he felt like he could make it better, buying it and putting into it and investing and being a banker. He kind of knew the financial aspects of buying the cars and then helping people get finance. Something, of course, which you carry on today.
Exactly.
Okay. So like I said, I know it was the squares where the dealership was actually already located, so he just took that location over.
Right.
And at that time, I'm assuming, I know the square was paved, but I'm assuming some of the other streets were probably at the time
I'm sure.
when he took over.
You know, one funny story I always remember hearing is that Granddaddy, right across the street from that building, had whatever wreck happened that week, he would have them tow that car to right there, and so the whole county would come into Scottsboro just to see somebody's car that had been in a wreck. And of course, while they were there, Granddaddy would probably sell them a new car.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. He would probably convince them that they needed a new car at that point.
Exactly.
Yes. So, like I said, I was kind of curious to know, and of course, I tie back to this dealership as well because my dad has been here since 1969. He is now currently the parts manager. So, out of the 84 years you have been here, he's been here 54.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah, Jimmy. I think he told me a story the other day I thought was pretty cute, where my dad, when he first hired him from high school, Jimmy made a comment to my daddy that he really wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he'd try this job out. And then my daddy, before he passed away in the mid-90s, saw Jimmy up here at the dealership one day, and he said, "Jimmy, I guess you've never decided what you were going to do, have you? You still here?" Yeah, he's definitely the oldest employee that I've ever been around, and I'm sure Daddy didn't have any, or Granddaddy didn't have any that lasted as long as Jimmy. but he's special to us, no doubt.
Thank you. And we feel the same way about
Yeah,
you all.
sure.
That's why I wanted to talk with you today, because the dealership has just been incredible, not only for the community, because you obviously give back.
Sure.
You help students who in driver's ed. I know you give those cars,
Right.
and there's lots of things that you do. But as for our financial stability, with my dad working here, your dealership has always just been obviously current. I mean, you stay on the level or you go up. I've never known you to ever go down, or nobody's ever been laid off that I can know of in the last 40 plus years.
We've had a long run of 4 generations of, I guess, hundreds or maybe thousands of employees that have been a part of what we're here for, and obviously we couldn't have had the dealership without them and their families, and we're hiring relatives of people that my granddaddy, I'm sure, had worked with him. So our employees are obviously a big part of our business.
Yes, well, I know it's been very beneficial, and we couldn't have made it. I mean, this job has helped my dad provide a great life for us. That's fantastic.
Right.
And that's one of the things too that I wanted to talk to you about. Of course, my dad is Jimmy Hampton. He's the parts manager here, has been for quite some time. Tell me a little bit about the first dealership. Did they have parts, service, and sales?
We've got those pictures in the showroom. They did it all,
yes.
More so than we even do now. Of course, now obviously we've taken on the tires, but they had the full service body shop, which I've not even had in my career. I think my dad shut the body shop down in 1980 when I came to work here, and so back when Granddaddy had it, I'm sure there was probably even rental back then, but obviously body shop, parts service, new and used. Of course, on the square, it was a 2-story building, which I obviously never worked at, but Word Motor Company was located on the square right down from Harbin Motor Company. Word Arcade, then Words moved first behind there, beside the First Baptist Church. Daddy and Granddaddy moved to Willow Street, and then we ended up moving here in 2000, and then ended up purchasing Word in, I think, 2006 from Jake Word, who was my daddy's age.
And I noticed one of the pictures on the wall, which is obviously to my left, and it looks like, is that one of the pictures where your grandfather and your father were actually getting ready to build the new?
Oh,
that's
actually you're exactly right. That's the one that I worked at, Willow Street.
Yes. So your grandfather and father actually built that one. That was
That's right.
Their first actual location that they had. They bought from someone else, but this was something that they designed and had.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And when I was looking through, and I'm assuming that the number got larger once your family moved, but I think there was 25 original employees in 1940.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it'd been that many, but that's probably right. If you look out there, that shows you the full service.
Yes, yes. I was very surprised, because even in the 1940s, you wouldn't have thought about a place having 25 employees. I mean, that was a great financial responsibility.
No doubt. I'm going to say, when I was first working, I bet you we didn't have too many more than that. Of course, now we're probably pushing 100. So that shows you how things change. Of course, obviously 2 stores.
Yes, absolutely. And so now your son Wynn has the Ford, and your son Tanner has the Chevrolet. This is kind of how that is set up now.
Right.
So you've expanded this so that each one would take on the same responsibility.
Right.
And obviously you've done that too, to service most of the people in, honestly, the tri-state area. From what I see,
Sure.
a lot of your sales are not only Jackson County, but there's people who come from everywhere, and that says a lot about your dealership for someone to drive several hours to get here. Are trustworthy, and they know that you're here. I think it makes a difference too that your company has been here for 84 years.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a lot of the internet as well, but we got on that bandwagon early on. But we try to keep a good inventory, especially used, and we'll take as many new vehicles as Ford and Chevy will allow us to keep. But yeah, we do have pretty much of a 3-state area that we have customers coming from.
Okay. So I know that at the time, of course, the dealership here was the Ford dealership. Did your granddad ever think about buying others like you did, or was he just really specifically focused
Well,
on?
he actually had Ford. Of course, Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury kind of go hand in hand.
Yes.
But there was a Lincoln store at 5 Points that he ended up with. Mercury was another franchise that went along with Ford. Probably not. Probably Scottsboro at one time had all kind of brands. There's so many buildings in our town that were dealerships used to be that I'm not even familiar with. But yeah, I think Ford was plenty for Granddaddy, and would have been plenty for us had the opportunity not become available for Chevy to be for sale, or we would have never probably thought about adding that.
Well, I knew, as I was discussing things with my dad and we were talking a little bit about it, he told me that there was the Ford and then there was the Mercury that was added shortly after. And then did you add the Lincoln?
That was some of Daddy's and Granddaddy's doing this too, probably my daddy. I'm going to say we had Lincoln since maybe 57, which was the year I was born. I could be wrong, but I think we've had it a pretty long time. And then we decided that that wouldn't be something that we wanted to continue with about 5 years ago. I think we probably let Lincoln go. So yeah, we're just Ford Chevy now.
Okay. And so I know, like I said, when you took this over early 80s, did you see the dealership evolving like it has and being as large as it is for the community?
Not really. I think I knew that Scottsboro was expanding and the Highway 72 was developing. Walmart was looking to relocate out here, and I kind of watched where they were considering buying, and I wanted to be near them.
Yes.
And obviously on 72, 35 is awesome as well, because that's where our county people come from, the mountain. So yeah, I don't guess I ever thought Scottsboro would grow like it has, and I don't guess I ever really thought that we would grow as big as we have. But just like I say, our county's, we've got a good partnership with the county, and so therefore things have grown.
Oh, absolutely. And that's like I said, when I was going through and looking, like I said, I looked at a lot of the pictures, and I think the family connection of how you started out, and then how as each time someone's retired, it seems like someone from their family has maybe come in.
We've had a lot of that, for sure.
So obviously you have your family working here. So tell me a little bit, do you remember much about the cars and how things have changed in that aspect from your grandfather to your father? Did they ever say that, okay, we sell more Fords or we sell more Mercuries, so we're going to focus on this? Or
trucks, farmers, our rural county, without trucks, I guess starting in the 80s, maybe even prior to that, we wouldn't be where we are now. Believe it or not, we sell one Ford car now. We sell one or two Chevys. Everything else is considered a truck, SUV. So obviously trucks has been our bread and butter, and service department because of trucks, and usually bought for working. We've had plenty of service business over the years. But now with electric vehicles coming, I don't even want to comment on that because it's so far over my head. It's probably one of the reasons I got out, but it's still down the line, I'm afraid, for us to have a tremendous amount of those as what we sell. But the trucks have been, your daddy bought several of them.
Yes.
But the trucks, the Ford truck, and then we complemented that with the Chevrolet. Those are the two best full-size trucks on the market, so we've been fortunate there.
Good. Well, and like I said, I know that your community involvement, you do a lot of cars for the high school and different things like that. So I know that your name is always out there. You can see that, and I think that means a lot to this community. It's such a financial asset for you to help and give that. I mean, it's incredible, and I know the city and the county really and truly appreciates that as well. As I do.
It's a partnership. It's an investment. If we want our city and county youth and adults to buy from us, to work with us, why would we not invest in education, whatever the Little League travel team, the beauty pageants, the cheerleaders. We try to give back. I mean, it's an investment, and it's an obligation.
Absolutely. And I know that truly helps too, because a lot of times families notice that if you have a vehicle that was donated by this dealership, that makes them see that you are, like you said, investing in their children, so they want to buy from you.
Sure.
So that's going to keep the longevity and keep things
Sure.
going, and getting all that done. And that again ties back to a lot of the family, because like I said, it's been great for us. And honestly, to be honest, we all drive Fords. And
I love it. I love it.
We do. Like I said, it's been one of those things. So, how do you see the dealership changing, or do you see it changing? It's always going to stay family oriented because of you.
I don't see why not. That'd be up to Wynn and Tanner, but we're here for the long haul, and our city and county's growing. I've got the fifth generation not far away, and whether it'll be one of my 3 granddaughters or one of my 2 grandsons, or all of them, or none of them, we're sure counting on somebody having an interest in keeping it going.
And that would be a change if one of your granddaughters decided to do it, because
I'd
it's
be
been
happy.
a generation of men. I love to empower women. So
Yeah. Aaron, Aaron's a big part of our
yes.
dealership. That's my niece. So, and we're definitely not opposed to one of the girls stepping up, for sure.
And that's what I like too, because when I was looking through the newspaper out there, I seen Grover Hodges, of course. So
Great uncle.
yes,
Right.
he was in the
Parts.
Yes, he was in Parts. And Dad was telling me there was several other gentlemen. He said some of them I think had maybe retired or were on the verge of retiring when he came in 1969.
Funny, he and Leon worked together, Pendergrass,
and there was an Emmett
Michaels.
Yes, Dad was talking about him, and saying some wonderful things about him. And then even on one of the pictures out there, was it your father's?
Jackie.
Yes,
Jackie was on the picture driving a truck.
Yes, I noticed that.
I don't think she worked here, but she was definitely Ken. John Porter, attorney in town. That's his mother.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did not know
Sure
that.
is.
So again, the family connection.
Yeah, no doubt.
And there's just so many different ones. Like I said, now I met your dad.
Right.
And so I was asking Dad, because we were talking a little bit about your grandfather. I said, did he go by a different name? And he said, oh no, his name was Hoyt, and then your dad went by Buddy.
That's right.
So I was kind of trying to put names and faces, and he said a lot of people would call your grandfather H.E.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he said that was sometimes what he did, or he would say Mr. Harbin.
Sure.
And then, was there a reason that your dad went by Buddy? Was he just
I'm
trying
sure
to...
a nickname. I'm sure his parents. I'm sure it's a nickname. I don't.
Okay.
That's funny you say that, but it's perfect for him, because he was a buddy to many people. He was just a friendly, happy-go-lucky person that obviously my hero, and and somebody I look up to more than anybody. And but one of the main reasons I got in the business, for sure.
Okay. Well, and that's one of the things too. Like I said, I think that's just been what's interested me a lot too, of how the dealership evolved, and then it was family. And obviously, I feel like I've been a part of this family for quite some time.
Well, just when we have our Thanksgiving meals and Christmas meals, and we all seem to enjoy being here.
Yes, and like I said, I know my dad has. And the part that's just very interesting to me is most of the time people retire when they get his age. He loves getting up and coming over here every day. He will be 74 this coming year.
I remember at 65, he and I talking about how much longer he was going to work. It was 9 years. 9 years since we were just talking like that. Crazy.
It is. And like I said, I just think that tells something about the environment here, the history of this company, as to if someone wants to stay that long, that says a lot. And I do believe that most of the gentlemen that he worked with were here until
You're right.
they just had to go home.
You're right.
Yes. Well, I thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for talking to me about the dealership today
Thank
and the
you.
history and your family's history and
Good.
how my history ties into
No
yours,
doubt, no doubt.
actually.
I've enjoyed
Yes.
it. I have.
Yes, I have. And like I said, I
Or
just
the first one
appreciate
I've done, but I do appreciate you doing it. I'm sorry that we were kind of rushing around, but
That's okay. I just appreciate you taking
Good.
the time. It really means a lot to me. And
likewise.
yes, and I
All right, Haley,
look forward to a
thanks.
few more years.
Good. Thank you.
so
That was
much.
fun. That's my first now. That was